to the modern-day joint pain solution. You can get lasting joint pain relief with no drugs, no steroids, no downtime, and no surgery. You've heard Emmitt Smith raving about QC Kinetics. You've read or seen other high-profile players talking about it. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics will help you get your life back. Take action now. Get a free consultation. Powerful, effective joint pain treatment with natural biologicals are here. Call QC Kinetics now, 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522.
Local businesses, yeah, we're talking to you. Get free advertising for your business with our Jaws Package memberships and reward yourself and your team with Shark Season tickets. It's a win-win, and the Jacksonville Sharks know how to win. Become a Jaws Package member today and get your company free in-game and year-round digital advertising. Visit jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700, extension 717.
Picking here for my friends at Roof It Right. Are you having a problem with your roof? Well, you want the strongest building materials backed by the market's best warranties. You want Roof It Right. Listen, people, a roof in Florida, that's a big deal. I've been endorsing Roof It Right for years because they're the company I know and I trust. Call or schedule your estimate today at roofitRightFL.com. That's roofitRightFL.com. And see why your friends, your neighbors say, Roof It Right, so you can sleep at night.
This is Brandon with North Florida Epoxy Floors. Our product gives you a custom high-quality appearance and the longest-lasting finish at a more affordable price. So for your garage, home, or business, research the difference between 100% solids epoxy and products like polyurea, which can be kinda fishy. Our epoxy includes a moisture vapor barrier, essential in Florida, so your North Florida Epoxy floor looks great and is warranted with no fine print. Get a free estimate at northfloridaepoxyfloors.com.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. The sports world keeps spinning and the local conversation continues. Now, Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville, late night edition of Hacker After Dark. We're glad you're with us here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. So very glad to be back with you after a few days out in Las Vegas. My goodness gracious, what a time that was out there in Las Vegas. Second time for me out there. I went out there with a couple of buddies, with my wife as well. And look, the bottom line is I came back in one piece. Also, it's always good when the door code to the building works after a couple of days off, so I was happy about that as well. The cool thing about being out in Las Vegas for the last couple of days was you were able to see what was going on with the NFL draft, the build-up to the NFL draft. It was pretty awesome seeing the stage being built there at the Bellagio. You also had the Cosmopolitan, the NFL fan experience. They were putting it all up. They were getting it ready for the NFL draft. Obviously, the focus of the NFL world will be out in Las Vegas. A couple of observations from a guy that has not spent a lot of time, admittedly, in Las Vegas, Nevada. I finally sat down and played a little bit of blackjack out in Las Vegas. I've seen it on television for years, been thinking about doing it for years. I'm 38 years old. I guess better late than never. So I finally was able to do that. I got a education, no doubt about that. Ended up in the green, which was good. Did not lose any money, was positive for the trip, but it's very addicting. I can tell you that it's probably a good thing that I don't live in the Las Vegas area because I think I would find myself at the blackjack table an awful lot. It was fun. It was a good time. I got unbelievably fortunate. You know, I'm a guy that believes that good things happen to good people. And I'd like to think, not to pass judgment on myself, but, you know, I'd like to think that I'm a pretty good dude, all things considering. Worked with a lot of people here on 1010XL. I know there's some listeners that might not like my sports opinions, but very, very rarely do I have issues with anybody. I like to think I'm a pretty good guy. And the reason I bring that up was, again, I believe good things happen to good people. And I was so unbelievably fortunate. unbelievably fortunate at the Caesars Palace Sportsbook. So we're sitting there on Thursday, couple of cocktails, obviously. I mean, come on, we're at the Caesars Palace Sportsbook watching the NBA playoffs, and we're having a good time. We get up from our seats, walk around, going to go explore. I think we were on our way to the Bellagio at that point. I start feeling around in my pocket area. Oh, my gosh. My wallet was left on the table at the Caesars Palace Sportsbook in Las Vegas, Nevada. No way it's still there. No way my money hasn't been taken. No way my credit card hasn't been taken. I was just hoping to find it so I could at least have my driver's license. I mean, I was in a full-blown panic. So I go back to the sportsbook, was gone for about 5 minutes, go back to the table. Of course, the wallet's not there. So I just happen to go up to the desk up front and say, hey, just out of curiosity, did you guys have a wallet turned into you within the last 5 or so minutes? And it's like the pearly gates just shine down on me. It's like that white light just shined down on me, and people were singing. And they said, what's your name? I said, Ryan Green. Like, Mr. Green, it's your lucky day. They handed me my wallet. All right, so now I have my wallet. I'm assuming there's not a left in my wallet, but at least I have my wallet. Open it up. Credit cards are there. Driver's license is there. My money was still there. Are you kidding me? Of all places to leave your wallet, I left it in the Las Vegas, Nevada Caesars Palace Sportsbook, and truthfully, there were some interesting people there on Thursday watching NBA playoff action, but nothing was taken. Whew! That made the trip in and of itself. It was a fantastic time. I am certainly happy to be back with you here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. My goodness, do we have a lot to talk about? Do we have a lot to discuss? Let me welcome in Andrew Gibson. Gibby, pinch hitting today. Gibby, appreciate you working double overtime here on 1010XL. Good to be with you, man. How are you?
It's great to be with you as well. That's a fascinating story about Caesars Palace because you've got to be one of the most fortunate people in the world to have that happen and have all of your credit cards and nothing stolen.
Well, look, and again, I didn't have a wad of cash, but I had like $100 in my wallet, and, a couple of about 4 or 5 20s and my Visa card, and it's all just sitting there, and I'm just like, I know it's gone.
Yeah.
But to get all of that back intact,
well,
unbelievable.
It just shows you there's still good people in the world.
There are. And I met the gentleman that turned it in. He actually looked like Smokey from The Big Lebowski. If you're a Big Lebowski fan, he was a dead ringer for Smokey, whose toe was or was not over the line at one point in that film. But I bought that gentleman a cocktail and said thank you very, very much for turning it in. All right, so here is the situation in Jacksonville, Florida. We are inside of 48 hours until we're going to find out who the number 1 pick is in the National Football League draft. Will it be Evan Neal? Will it be Ike Ekwonu? Will it be Aiden Hutchinson? Will it be Travon Walker? I got a lot of thoughts on that. Let me go down the guest lineup for you tonight. Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites on Twitter. If you're on social media, you've covered the National Football League, you're a fan of the National Football League, odds are you probably have at least some idea who Chad Forbes is. I love talking to Chad because he's not afraid to mince words. He's not afraid to really tell you how he feels and give you his flat-out honest opinion on things. So we're going to go over everything Jaguar draft-related with Chad Forbes from at NFL Draft Bites on Twitter. That is coming up in about a half an hour. My friend John Shipley, who does a terrific job at Jaguar Report for Sports Illustrated covering the Jacksonville Jaguars. John's going to join us later on tonight. And then Josh Edwards from CBSSports.com, one of their main draft guys. He has put out mock drafts every week since the month of September. Think about that. Mock drafts every week since the month of September for Josh Edwards of CBSSports.com. The culmination of, 7-8 months of work for Josh Edwards comes Thursday night in the NFL draft. So we will have him on in the 11 o'clock hour as well. All right, battling a little bit. I love being here with you. I will tell you, yesterday was an amazing travel day. Travel days are always fun. But when you wake up, well, first when you get your flight canceled, and then you have to go on social media and complain to the airline, and, you know, they listened and helped me out, which I certainly appreciate American Air for doing that. But the bottom line is, yesterday at 1 o'clock Eastern time, I was in Las Vegas. I took a 4-hour flight to Charlotte, took another 90-minute flight to Orlando, and then drove back to Jacksonville, got home a little before midnight last night. So yesterday was long. Did a lot of work today putting together the shows. So I'm happy to be here. Hopefully the voice does stay intact for the next hour and 52 minutes. Fascinating stuff about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, less than 48 hours out, and we have no idea what direction they're going to go. Could it be Evan Neal, offensive lineman, Alabama, Ike Ekwonu, offensive lineman, NC State, on the defensive side of the ball? You obviously got Trayvon Walker out of Georgia. You have Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. There are so many rumors going on as well. Is there a power struggle internally between head coach Doug Peterson, between general manager Trent Baalke, between owner Shad Khan? I'm going to get to that because I think that is a fascinating situation. Whether it's true or not is, I guess, up to interpretation. There are reports out that there is a power struggle, so we're going to talk about that coming up in just a little bit. But I was thinking about this on the drive in, and this is mainly a Jaguar-related topic, but really you could go to any team with the number 1 or certainly a top 5 pick in recent memory. I started covering the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2002, 4 months after they drafted John Henderson. So my first draft on the radio was when they took Byron Leftwich in 2003. So we're talking 20 years that I've been looking at Jaguar drafts as a part of a sports radio station in some capacity. And 48 hours out, I don't know if I can ever remember more conversation, more scenarios, more just flat-out unknowns about a Jaguar draft pick, particularly one this high, than we have this year. There is nothing stopping Jacksonville from telling the world who they are taking on Thursday night. That's the benefit of having the number 1 pick in the draft. No one can stop you. No one can leapfrog you. You can do whatever you want. You have the number 1 pick in the draft. But they're not saying anything. They're keeping it very, very, very internal. They're not, for a Las Vegas analogy, they're not showing their hand, if you will. Makes it fun. Makes it fun. Last year, we knew Trevor Lawrence was going to be the number 1 pick as soon as Frank Gore got that first down in Los Angeles and the Jets beat the Rams in late December. We knew Trevor Lawrence was going to be the guy. There was no conversation. There was no unknown about that. The exact opposite this year. I think realistically, you can look at it. You could absolutely see them draft Aiden Hutchinson, which is where I would still go, by the way. I've been very clear about that. If it were up to me, if I was making the pick, I would draft Aiden Hutchinson. You can still absolutely see them go Trayvon Walker, which appears to be where it might be trending right now. That appears to be where all the rumors are, that Trayvon Walker is the leader in the clubhouse. As of an hour ago, Trayvon Walker was the leader at the aforementioned Caesar Sportsbook. He is the betting favorite to be taken by Jacksonville, number 1 overall. We know Evan Neal has been in the conversation pretty much throughout the process. And now Ike Ekwonu at the 11th hour comes back into the conversation. A month ago, Ekwonu really made a splash. Jacksonville potentially interested. And then that talk seemingly wind down a little bit. He wasn't getting as much play. But now here we are the week of, and Ike Ekwonu apparently has resurfaced as a guy seriously being considered to be taken number 1 by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Is the power struggle a legit thing? Is it, as is what's being reported by a couple of outlets, including Tony Pauline of Pro Football Network? In fact, I believe he was on with Mike and Tony earlier today on Jaguars Today. Is Aiden Hutchinson Shad Khan's guy? Is Travon Walker Trent Baalke's guy? Is Ike Ekwonu Doug Peterson's guy? Are we really at that point where the head coach, the general manager, and the owner have three different ideas, three different guys that they want to take with the number one pick? That would be very Jaguar-esque if that's true. But that's a fascinating thought. If that is true, who's going to win that power struggle? Who is going to win that battle in the war room on Thursday night? It's obvious who should win it. Shad Khan. He's the owner. But let me ask you this, and we'll talk more about this on the other side. Shad Khan fell on the sword for Trent Baalke. My goodness, Baalke was getting annihilated by fans, by local media, myself included. I'm not going to say I wasn't. By national media. But Shad Khan kept his guy. Trent Baalke, amidst all the firestorm, all the negativity, Khan kept him. But now here we are about 3 months later. And if it's true that Baalke wants Walker and Khan wants Hutchinson, and if Khan overrides Baalke, then what was the point of keeping him if you're going to kneecap him 3 months after that? Again, whether that's true or not, who knows? But there are rumors, there are reports out there that there are very different ideas for the Jaguars with the number one pick on Thursday night. 641-1010, Jacksonville phone lines always open to you on Hacker After Dark if you want to get involved. We're here for you on Tuesday nights. We're here for the hard-working men and women of Jacksonville, Florida on Tuesday nights. Are you kidding me? There was no way I wasn't going to take a 4-hour flight from Vegas to Charlotte, another 90-minute flight from Charlotte to Orlando, and then cap it off with a 2-hour and 15-minute drive to get back to Jacksonville just in time to come on at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night. I love it. I love the conversation. The draft is less than 48 hours away. If you want to talk Jaguar football, you are more than welcome to do so. Also streaming the show, as we do every night, you can head on over to the 1010XL YouTube channel. You can also head over to my personal Twitter, at Ryan Green 1010XL. We will be streaming Hacker After Dark all the way up until midnight tonight. Back into the Jaguars. What are they going to do at number one? What should they do at number one? And who should win the power struggle at number one? That's next on Hacker After Dark.
Could someone talk to me? When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
1010XL.
Empire Works Reconstruction is seeking to fill multiple positions for carpenters, window installers, painters to demo workers. These positions earn from $18 to $25 per hour depending on work experience and get a consistent 40-hour work week Monday through Thursday, leaving your Fridays to fish or golf while getting paid. To get started, call 407-982-0640, 407-982-0640, or online at empireworks.com. Positions are local to Jacksonville, equal opportunity employer.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. You're driving along and some nimrod cuts you off. You hit the horn. Jeez, it sounds like a goose in distress. Time to head over to eBay Motors. They have horns for every make and model, not to mention horn pads, steering wheels, wiring, and more. 122 million parts. You can even go for an upgrade. Looks like Mr. Cutoff Man needs a new seat cover. Try eBay Motors, pal. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Hacker here for my friends at Xfinity. Well, don't rely on just your cell phone to connect to the internet. Enjoy a year of free high-speed home internet service when you add one line of unlimited mobile with 5G for only $30 a month when you qualify for the affordable connectivity program. That's right, get reliable home internet for free when you add one line of unlimited mobile with 5G for only $30 a month. Act now to get this incredible deal so you can enjoy more streaming, gaming, chatting, sharing, and everything else that you love for less. This terrific offer does require paperless billing and auto pay with a stored bank account. Offer expires April 28th. Restrictions apply. New Connect Internet, 50 megabit per second customers with an Xfinity Mobile Unlimited line. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra and subject to change. Go to Xfinity.com. Call 1-800-XFINITY or visit an Xfinity store today.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
Your child is between 5 and 12 and would like to cheer or play tackle football in the Police Athletic League. Signups are at jaxpalsports.org.
The learning experience in Nocatee is raising funds for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and the Jacksonville Sharks will donate $5 for every ticket sold. Learn more at jacksharks.com.
City Rescue Mission provides life-changing support for the homeless. Find ways to get involved at crmjax.org.
Dreams Come True is a local wish-granting organization giving dreams and special times to local children battling life-threatening illnesses. Find out how you can help at dreamscometrue.org.
If you know someone with cancer and no insurance, call the U.S. Uninsured Helpline at 800-234-1317.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
Men suffering from PE or ED, has Viagra, Cialis, or Levitra let you down? Regardless of your age or past medical history, you'll see results on your first visit at Prime Men's Medical Center, or you pay nothing, guaranteed. Call us at 664-8217.
Hi, I'm RJ Daly with 5-Star Credit Union. Life moves fast, and we want to help you to strive to be the best. 5-Star Credit Union is the presenting sponsor of the Jacksonville Business Journal's Fast 50 Awards. Is your company growing fast? We're looking for the companies in Northeast Florida that have grown over the last few years to celebrate their achievements. We want you to nominate your company or a company that you admire before May 12th. Visit jbjevents.com for details. That's jbjevents.com.
This NFL Draft Preview is brought to you by Community First Credit Union. Love where you bank.
Aiden Hutchinson is regarded by many as the best player in the draft. The edge rusher stands 6'6" and weighs in at 265 pounds. Hutchinson brings a brilliant blend of physicality and quickness with a fast 40-yard dash. As a senior at Michigan, he stacked up 14 sacks, including 3 against Ohio State to end the Wolverines' 8-game losing streak to the Buckeyes.
When life gets in the way, 1010XL On Demand.
Brought to you by Accelerated Tax Solutions.
Commercial-free shows immediately after our live shows end. Search 1010XL in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or visit 1010XL.com.
Estate cleanouts, hoarding cleanouts, old appliances, and even tools. There are tons of reasons why you or someone you know may need expert help clearing space. J-Dog Junk Removal will responsibly help you free up space. That means when they leave your place, it looks better. Whether it's you or a loved one that needs one type of clean out at your home, trust the veterans at J-Dog Junk Removal. Veteran owned and operated. Call 844-GET-JDOG or visit jdog.com.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. Are the company's Zoom calls getting boring? Might be a good time to order some new logo caps or temporary tattoos. Check them out online at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all. This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000.
Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM. Glad you're with us on a Tuesday evening here in the city of Jacksonville. I will tell you, we got some drama going on in the NBA playoffs right now. Pretty good stuff between Minnesota. I like the Vegas, by the way, Gibby. Nice.
Yes, sir.
Pretty good stuff there between Minnesota and Memphis. I don't think people thought coming in that Minnesota and Memphis was going to be the greatest series of this first round. It might turn into it. Memphis was up 3. Anthony Edwards drilled a 3 to tie the game with under 4 seconds to go. Absolutely drilled it. Memphis calls a timeout. Game's tied at 109. And moments ago, Ja Morant, I believe is who it was. Let me get the word. Yeah, Ja Morant with a second left. Hits a shot. Memphis wins the game 111-109 to take a 3-2 lead in the series. Absolutely fantastic basketball tonight between Memphis and Minnesota.
That guy's a superstar.
Terrific player. Terrific player. I'll also say Miami has eliminated Atlanta tonight. The Heat 97-94. The Hawks go down 4-1. Miami moves on. Game just getting underway in the Valley of the Sun. Pelicans and Suns. That's a 1-8 in the Western Conference. That series is tied at 2. Huge Game 5 tonight out in Phoenix. Suns and Pelicans tied very early on at 6-6. We will keep you updated. All right, NFL Draft, 2 days from now. I find it fascinating, and I really mean this. I find it fascinating, some of the reports that are coming out. How much truth there is to these reports? Well, you can gauge for yourself. I think after Thursday night, we're not going to hear anything about the lead up to it. After Thursday night, after Roger Goodell announces the pick, everybody at that point is going to be on the same page because the hay's in the barn at that point. You got to be on board because that's what the team did with the number 1 pick. But we're in the land of speculation right now on Tuesday night leading into Thursday's NFL Draft festivities. And in the land of speculation, you got people coming out like Tony Pauline at Pro Football Network. You got people coming out on the NFL Network. You even have some people coming out on ESPN saying there is, at very least, a disagreement right now with the Jacksonville Jaguars and who they're going to take at number 1. The Tony Pauline story is interesting because he is of the opinion that Ike Ekwonu is the guy Doug Peterson wants. Trayvon Walker is the guy that Trent Baalke wants. But that owner Shad Khan is getting into the mix as well, and he reportedly wants Aiden Hutchinson. And why does Shad Khan want Aiden Hutchinson? Well, to me, it's the same reason I want Aiden Hutchinson. So Shad and I don't have a lot in common. That's unfortunate for me. But at least this thing we do have in common. Enough nonsense. Enough swinging for the fences. Enough swings and misses. Look, Aiden Hutchinson might not give you a grand slam. Gibby, you're a big baseball guy. That might not be a grand slam on a 3-2 count in Game 7 of the World Series. But sometimes a sacrifice fly or an infield single is what you need. A sacrifice fly or an infield single wins the game just as easily as a grand slam wins the game. May not necessarily be as sexy, but it counts just the same in the win-loss column. And what do I mean by that? I don't think Aiden Hutchinson is going to be some great, phenomenal player. I don't think Aiden Hutchinson is going to be the best rush end in the league for the next decade. But what I do feel is that Aiden Hutchinson is a good football player. What I do feel is Aiden Hutchinson is going to be the guy that gets you 8 sacks one year, might get you 9.5 sacks the next year. Maybe year 3's down a little bit. He goes down to 7 sacks. But all of a sudden, when you add up those 3 years, that's 24.5 sacks in a 3-year period. That's not bad. Might not be great. Might not be all pro. That's certainly not bad. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's what I want in Jacksonville. I want normalcy when it comes to a top 10, top 5 pick. Trayvon Walker could be this great, phenomenal player. Trayvon Walker could be the guy that can go for double-digit sacks year after year after year. We have no idea. He didn't do it in college. You know, I find it interesting. And look, are you kidding me? If you've listened to me over the years, you know I'm as big SEC homer on the radio as you're probably going to find. And I'll gladly admit that. I love the Southeastern Conference. It just means more, right? Damn right it does. SEC, you betcha. That's why I feel a little weird being on this side of the argument. Because for everybody that wants Trayvon Walker, they'll bring up Aiden Hutchinson and how bad he was in the Orange Bowl against Georgia, when they were sending 2 and 3 blockers his way basically every game. They won't bring up how great Aiden Hutchinson was against Ohio State. They won't bring up the good, they'll just bring up the bad. Well, let me ask you something about Trayvon Walker then. What did he do in the regular season that really lighted your fire? Where was the Trayvon Walker talk here in Jacksonville in December? And in January? And in February? Where was it? Did he magically get taller? Did he magically get faster? Did he magically have greater verticals in March than he did in January? No. You weren't clamoring for Trayvon Walker in January. Why are you clamoring for him now? Because he went to Indianapolis, put on a pair of underwear, and did a great workout? I mean, that's got to be the reason. I just did not hear any Jaguar fan, not one person that I know, right here in the heart of SEC country, that was clamoring for Trayvon Walker during the season. It's just fascinating to me. It really is. Meanwhile, Aiden Hutchinson got 14.5 sacks last year. Was a team captain at Michigan. His father played in the NFL. That's where I'm at. Now, where does Doug Peterson fit in? You got to ask yourself that question, too. If he wants Ike Ekwonu, as what's at least being reported out there by some outlets, well, wait a minute. What does that mean for Cam Robinson? What does that mean for a long-term extension? You're going to give Cam Robinson a long-term extension and draft Ike Ekwonu? To do what? To play right tackle? What about Walker Little? Remember him? Trent Baalke drafted him, 2nd round last year. So you're going to extend Cam long-term. You got Walker Little. You want to draft Ekwonu? I don't know about that. What are you going to do, play him at guard? You're going to use the number 1 pick in the draft on a guard? And then maybe swing him out to right tackle, assuming Cam gets a long-term deal? I saw people on social media yesterday saying, yeah, we got to draft Ekwonu or Evan Neal, even if Cam gets a long-term deal. Are you kidding me? What sense would that make? You have the number 1 pick in the draft. If we're under the impression that Cam Robinson's going to get a long-term extension, presumably to play left tackle, then what are you doing drafting an offensive lineman number 1 under that scenario? You want to draft an offensive lineman number 1 to be your left guard? Because he may or may not turn into Quentin Nelson, which is the comparison Ekwonu's getting. I always tell you guys, I follow the money. And here's what the money has told us. $16.7 million on a franchise tag for Cam Robinson. $49 million for Brandon Sheriff to come over from Washington. You re-sign Shatley. You add that, what was that, $6 million to that. You're talking about, in guaranteed money, over $50+ million they've spent on the offensive line this offseason. What have they done to affect the opposing quarterback? How much money have they spent on the defensive line? They've spent $6 million on a 1-year deal for Arden Key. If you follow the money, we always talk about free agency and the draft. They mesh, right? What they do in free agency is a signal to what they are going to do in the draft. Or at least it should be. Maybe it won't be, but it should be. If you spend all that money on the O-line, you did basically nothing on the defensive line, Well, maybe there's a reason why. Maybe because you know it's going to be either Hutchinson or Walker on Thursday night. In which case, then, will the general manager win out? Or will the owner step in? And if the owner steps in, boy, that'd be interesting. We'll never know that. That'll always be pure speculation. They'll never come out and say, yeah, Trent Baalke's not going to come out to the media on Thursday night and say, you know what? I wanted Trayvon Walker, but Shad Khan came in the room and told me to draft Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah, Shad's not Jerry Jones.
No. But I'm not saying he's Jerry Jones, Gibby. What I am saying is I think Shad Khan's sick of the nonsense, too.
Oh, yeah.
And he talks to people around the league.
He should be. He's writing the checks.
Of course he is. And he talks to people around the league. And what I would gather from that is he knows Aiden Hutchinson might be the safer pick. Might not be the swing for the fences type pick that Walker is. Walker could turn out to be a better player than Hutchinson. That would not surprise me if Trayvon Walker 5 years from now has better numbers than Aiden Hutchinson. But I think Aiden Hutchinson, regardless of what Walker does, is going to be a good football player. Is a less risky pick than Trayvon Walker. And if Shad Khan steps in there and says, yeah, I appreciate that, Trent. I know you want Trayvon Walker, but this is the direction I think we should go. Man, that would be awesome to just understand the dynamic. And by the way, if Doug Peterson really wants Ekwonu and they don't go that direction, how was Doug or how will Doug feel about that? All of these things are on the table for Thursday night. Again, we're never going to know because they're not going to come flat out and say we had disagreement. Everybody will be on the same page when they meet the media and talk about who that number one pick was. But leading up to it, you like to think where there's smoke, there's at least a little bit of fire. And there appears to be some smoke that at least right now, less than 48 hours out, there is some disagreement as to who the Jaguars are going to take number one overall. Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites on Twitter, one of my favorite guys to talk NFL Draft with. He will join us next. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. He tells you what he thinks. And I think you're going to be very interested as to what he thinks about Ekwonu, Walker, and Hutchinson. Hacker After Dark on a Tuesday, Jacksonville. We're glad you're with us.
You know how superheroes have these secret identities?
Who is that girl? She's Lauren Brooks.
I'm 1/3 of an elite crime-fighting team backed by an anonymous millionaire.
Afternoons on The Franchi Show.
At your service.
On 1010XL.
You know, I'm always bragging about the Blue Crab Crab House because it's my favorite restaurant in Jacksonville, period. And one of the things I really admire about it, it's a long-standing mom and pop restaurant. We're talking more than 25 years serving Mandarin. Hey, it's worth visiting from all over Jacksonville. It's my favorite restaurant. It's located right off of San Jose. You can never, ever, ever go wrong by visiting the Blue Crab Crab House, Jewington Creek Road.
Leon Searcy here for QC Kinetics. Don't go through another summer with that awful joint pain. Call QC Kinetics now. That pain in your back, your knees, your shoulder, it can all now be treated with the latest in precision medicine using natural biologicals. Growth factors that can restore and repair damaged tissues. Really exciting stuff here. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, giving you access right here to the modern-day joint pain solution. You can get lasting joint pain relief with no drugs, no steroids, no downtime, and no surgery. You've heard Emmitt Smith raving about QC Kinetics. You've read or seen other high-profile players talking about it. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics will help you get your life back. Take action now. Get a free consultation. Powerful, effective joint pain treatment with natural biologicals are here. Call QC Kinetics now. 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522.
Hacker here for Prize Picks. All right, sports fanatics, have you heard about Prize Picks? It's the daily fantasy made easy. I love it. You will too. In fact, I was a winner tonight in Prize Picks thanks to Trae Young not doing very much in the Atlanta-Miami game. Prize Picks has the best NBA prop games on the market. They also offer more NBA props than any other daily fantasy sports operator, and they offer every player and stat category you can think of. For all the listeners that deposit and use promo code JAX, you will receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 at PrizePicks. Again, NBA props, all you want. Go to prizepicks.com, enter promo code JAX for a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. It's addicting. I love it. You will too. Don't hesitate. PrizePicks.com right now or download their app today.
Golfers, swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the new Ping I-525 irons and Glide 4.0 wedges. The Ping I-525 irons have a forged steel face, allowing for dynamic distance and a greater feel. The next generation Glide 4.0 specialty wedges are engineered for high-spin performance with a lower launch. Get a free custom fitting today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On April 26, 1983, in the NFL draft nicknamed the quarterback class of 83, Stanford quarterback John Elway is taken with the first pick overall by the Baltimore Colts.
We want people to feel that when they call Harrell and Harrell, they're calling Harrell and Harrell. They're not calling a satellite office or a call center or getting an automated phone system. We are with our clients, fighting for our clients, handling the process ourselves, and not asking others to do that for us. I mean, we feel like we made the right decision to be the size that we are, large enough to take on anyone, but small enough to care and really know our clients. Offices, Jacksonville.
The Green Berets of Northeast Florida want to play golf with you. The Special Forces Association Chapter 88 Annual Green Beret Golf Tournament is May 13th at Southampton. While you drive fairways, watch World War II Jeeps drive around the course. Launch a golf ball with an AR-15. You'll be supporting the Warriors Fund and local JROTC programs, and you'll help fight human trafficking. Find out more by searching the Green Beret Golf Tournament at Southampton.
Maximize the beauty of your home with custom-made windows and patio doors from Renewal by Anderson. Right now, buy 2 windows or patio doors and get the third for 60% off. Plus, no money down, no payments, and no interest for 12 months. Visit rbafla.com for details. And this offer expires April 30th. Restrictions apply. Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement company of the Jacksonville Jaguars. License number CGC 1527613.
Are you tired of taking off work to meet a repairman? At Roland Reich Plumbing, we understand. That's why we have 24/7 emergency services. We are here to accommodate you. So for all your plumbing needs, call Roland Reich Plumbing 260-7059.
Spring cleaning is upon us, and this is the perfect time to call Zero Res. Zero Res can clean your carpets, area rugs, tile and grout, furniture, and even your air ducts. Remember, a clean home is a healthy home. Zero Res, man. Spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. Now, another interview on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM, the week has arrived. The NFL Draft, Thursday night, the Jacksonville Jaguars with the number 1 pick. They have 11 additional picks, a total of 12. The roster will look completely different next week than it does right now. One of my favorite guys to talk about the NFL Draft with is my buddy Chad Forbes. You can follow him on Twitter at NFL Draft Bites, and he is with us here on 1010XL. Chad, how we doing?
Doing great. Can't remember a draft with this much ambiguity at top where really nobody knows what's going to happen, and so that creates a lot of intrigue for Thursday night.
Chad, we're inside of 48 hours till Roger Goodell is going to walk across that podium and announce the number 1 pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, we're here in Jacksonville, and we don't even have a firm understanding yet as to what the Jaguars are going to do. What are you hearing? What's your opinion? What do you think the scenarios are for Jacksonville on Thursday night?
Well, the reports came out that the owner wants Hutchinson, the general manager Trayvon Walker, and the coach Ike Ekwonu. So that's clearly differing opinions. The best scenario really would be to get Detroit to move up 1 slot, maybe get an extra third and maybe a future third, and then take the lineman that Doug Peterson wants there. The idea of building the offensive line to support Trevor Lawrence makes a lot of sense to me. Ekwonu can start there at left guard. Maybe in a year you move him to right left tackle, but he's the best player, best lineman in this draft, and he'd be a perfect fit for the Jaguars.
All right, let's take these individually, Chad. Let's begin with Aiden Hutchinson. It appears that the temperature might be cooling on Aiden Hutchinson, at least on what you hear. I know Adam Schefter said something along those lines yesterday as well. Do you like Hutchinson as a prospect? Do you like the fit he would be with Josh Allen here in Jacksonville?
Or as a high floor guy, and maybe he's not in the class of the Bosas or a Myles Garrett, Chase Young, but he was really productive senior year at Michigan. He's got the tools. I compare him a little bit to like Chris Long, who was a second overall pick years ago. Maybe he goes to a couple Pro Bowls, but I don't see him becoming the most dominant pass rusher in the league. And when you're picking first overall, that's what you're looking for. So you see the intrigue in then a guy like Trayvon Walker because he's got all the physical tools to turn into that type of player. But I think the concern is it's a first-year coaching staff, right? Do you trust Brenson Buckner and Mike Caldwell to develop a Trayvon Walker? And then if Doug Peterson wants a lineman and wants to kind of build the way the Eagles did it, that makes a ton of sense to me.
Chad, you follow the NFL. You've covered the NFL for many years. The Trayvon Walker thing, to me, he was a mid to late first-round guy, pre-combine. He goes to Indianapolis, goes absolutely nuts, and now he's a projected top 5. Can you remember a guy in the draft process that has ascended as much as a Trayvon Walker has ascended this year?
It reminds you a little bit like a Darius Hayward-Bay or some of those wide receivers back in the day that Al Davis would take a top drafts that ran fast. Trayvon Walker's a good player, and the system limited what he could do as a pass rusher. But even in January, I thought he could go like somewhere like 8 to the Falcons. But his ascent has really been astounding, and he could end up going first overall, and that wouldn't shock me.
Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites on Twitter here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Chad, when you see Trayvon Walker, you mentioned Mike Caldwell, the defensive coordinator. The talk here in Jacksonville is maybe Hutchinson might be limited to what he can do in the Jaguar defense, whereas a guy like Walker could play all over the place. Do you buy that?
Right. If you're going to go with more of an odd front where you want to move Trayvon Walker around, kind of the way that the free agents they brought in from the Bears last year, Robinson Harris, kind of in that type of role where he's on the edge, he's inside, he's moving around. That could be interesting with Trayvon Walker. And Hutchinson, he's a very good player, but is he a transcendent talent? I'm not necessarily sure.
You talk about the offensive linemen. Let's begin with Evan Neal and Ike Ekwonu. Actually, a broad thought about the offensive line. They give Brandon Sheriff $49 million. They franchise Cam Robinson. There's even some talk about a long-term extension. If they long-term extend Cam Robinson, Chad, why on earth would they draft a tackle number 1 if he's going to play guard because Cam's getting a long-term deal?
Right. Ike Ekwonu, though, could be a Quentin Nelson-type guard, and his limitations in pass protection show at times, but if you put him at left guard and all of a sudden you have really a dominant left side of that offensive line, that's really intriguing. And Ekwonu buys you some insurance if you don't want to do the extension on Cam Robinson. So I really like Ekwonu. I kind of compare it to what the Dolphins did with Tunsil years ago. You start him out at left guard and then kind of see where it goes. And the intriguing part about that is then it shifts Walker a little over to competing at right tackle for the rest of his career.
Against Jawan Taylor, and we've talked about that a lot this offseason. Do you like Ekwonu more than Evan Neal?
It's a better fit for the Jaguars. I think Neal, he played guard earlier in his career when he first stepped on campus at Alabama, but he's really a right or left tackle. You don't want to put him at guard, where Ekwonu has a little bit more leverage, and he's a little bit nastier with his punch in the run game. So he'd be a better fit, certainly for year 1 at left guard. And, Evan Neal's a good player, but you see a little bit of the Cam Robinson with him, where maybe he ends up being a tackle that sure he's going to get paid, but not necessarily a dominant type that you want first or second overall.
Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites on Twitter here with us on 1010XL. Chad, this is a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I mean, the Jaguars picking number 1, they've said repeatedly they have to get this pick right. Well, of course they do, but when you consider the draft history here in Jacksonville of top 5 and top 10, just atrocious picks that this organization has made, I mean, how important is Thursday night to get this pick right?
Right. This draft will determine if the Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson tandem works in Jacksonville, right? If you don't get the offensive line and get that offense fixed and get Trevor Lawrence to be the player he's capable of, then it's all for lost, right? So the idea of taking a defensive player there, look, if the defense stinks in 2022, but Trevor Lawrence takes a huge step, that's optimism for the future. So this idea that they're considering a defensive lineman there, to me, is just crazy.
So that basically answers my next question. I'll ask it anyway. If it were up to you, if you were making the pick for the Jaguars on Thursday night, Chad Forbes, who would Jacksonville take number 1?
I'd take Ike Ekwonu, and I would do everything I could to either get to 2 or 3 with the Texans and the Lions. I know you don't want to trade in division, but if I could pick up a couple extra picks, that'd be really ideal, because I'd be trying to come up from 34 either for maybe a Linderbaum or more ideally from one of the wide receivers if I get my hands on them.
You know, I talked to you during the midday show when I was on there, about a month or so ago. Haven't had you on since. So for the purposes of the evening crowd here in Jacksonville, admittedly, you were not very high on some of the things the Jaguars did in free agency, but an overall view from you, Jaguar offseason, from Doug Peterson to the free agent class, how much better do you think this team has gotten?
Doug Peterson was a home run hire, and the idea of a Super Bowl coach winning another one it's hard to imagine. It hasn't happened before, right? But what Doug Peterson will do, and I would say maybe Marvin Lewis would make sense there, is to at least get you back to being competitive, right? And you can't win until you're competitive. And for so long, outside of that 1 year when they went into Pittsburgh, this team has not been able to compete for the last decade. So Peterson hire was good, and they spent a lot of money in free agency. They had to pay a premium, which some of the prices were a little shocking, but they got players they liked. So, it's hard to judge. Last offseason, I was critical of it. I didn't love Rayshawn Jenkins, Shaq Griffin. So, I've been critical of their moves, but, that's just me being honest.
If you take a look at the Jaguars this upcoming weekend, not only do they have the number 1 pick, Chad, they own picks 33, 65, and 70. And that's just in the first 3 rounds. They got 4 picks in the top 70. I would think inside linebacker is a position of need, even though they go out and get Olakon, who led the league in tackles. You release Miles Jack. You don't have a lot at inside linebacker. Maybe interior offensive line. Outside of the number 1 pick, what other positions of need do you think Jacksonville needs to fill?
Still view wide receiver as a major need, and I'm just not sure there's going to be value there in round 2 and 3. But I look at the director of college scouting there, Michael Davis. He was with the Jets for years, right? And the home run draft the Jets had that really set them up for a decade of being competitive was when they took to Brickashaw, Ferguson, and Nick Mangold, right? They figured out the offensive line. Even though they had mediocre quarterback play behind it, they were still competitive. And so I think if you get your hands on Ekwonu there and then maybe come up for a Linderbaum, that kind of reminds me a little bit of Mangold and Brickashaw.
It's interesting you say that, because you're not the first person I've heard that says maybe you go offensive line. Look, the fan base listening right now, that's not going to sell a lot of tickets, I don't think. That's not going to get them overly excited this weekend like maybe an Aiden Hutchinson and a George Pickens or somebody along those lines. But the more I think about it, I tend to agree with you that if you figure out that offensive line and you get 1 or even 2 guys on that line that'll be 10-year starters for you, that you could do a lot worse than that on the first 2 rounds of the draft.
Right, like hypothetically, you come away with Linderbaum and Ekwonu, and then maybe in round 3 you got Leo Chenal or one of the inside linebackers to pair with the guy they signed in free agency. Maybe later down you look for like a Justin Ross or a wide receiver that's a little bit bigger that could play out at the split end. But they did a nice job with wide receiver in free agency where they don't have to push it if the player's not there. And then the other intriguing spot I think there could be some value is 65 and 70 is the tight ends, whether it's a Trey McBride or a Greg Dulcich. And, I do also think that after the success they have with Andre Sisco and probably want to move off the Rayshawn Jenkins contract at some point, they'll take a safety. And the guy that I think they'll take is Percy Butler from Louisiana.
Percy Butler, Louisiana, played for former Gator head coach Billy Napier in that case. They had safety. Look, I think safety, certainly a position of need. Jenkins, I agree with you, did not have a good year last year. I'd like to see more of Sisco. And that's what's interesting, Chad, honestly. Trent Baalke has gotten annihilated here, as you well know, during the coaching search. Yet fans here were clamoring for more of Andre Sisco last year. Fans here were clamoring for more of Walker Little last year. Tyson Campbell really emerged at the end of the year. Obviously, you know what you have in Trevor Lawrence. You didn't see Etienne because of the injury, but translation, Baalke's draft last year doesn't look half bad right now. And if he does so well again this week, man, maybe some of that heat and that venom the fan base has towards him will start to subside a little bit.
Right. The idea that Trent Baalke isn't a competent general manager. Maybe he's not, one of the best in the league, but he's got a pretty good track record. And last year it was just a tough situation with Urban Meyer. We all know that. So I kind of give the ownership a little bit of credit in saying this guy deserves a chance to show what he can do. And you're right. Last year's draft, it looks pretty good on paper. And I'll tell you what, once Doug Peterson figures out Trevor Lawrence is going to look a whole lot better.
Final moments here with Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites on Twitter. Chad, as we wrap up, let's take a look at the draft as a whole. There are reports out that some teams only have 15 first-round grades on prospects, meaning the back half of the first round could be chaos. You don't know what direction teams are going to go. How would you assess this class as a whole? How many surprises do you believe we will see on Thursday night?
It seems like every year people complain the draft isn't deep enough in the first round. And it's like, it's kind of become a bit of a tired storyline. It's a good draft in rounds 2 and round 3. A lot of safeties, linebackers, really good offensive line class, which is surprising given the past few years. So, there's players out there every season. And I think there's probably 15 or 16 guys that are first-round picks. And there's that first top tier we've been talking about for months. And you get down into the 20s, and it's really hard to say where teams are going to go. And that's what happens every year. They get into the 20s, and teams start to have to draft non-premium positions, whether it's a guard or a safety or a running back, because, you can't just push a guy and say, oh, he's a pass rusher, we got to take him, because those picks don't work out.
Chad, take out position of need. Take out D-line, O-line. If I were to ask you, in 5 years, who will be the best player drafted in the 2022 draft? Who will that be? If the Jaguars were taking literally the best player, regardless of position, who do you think that is this year?
I think Jameson Williams can go to a lot of Pro Bowls.
Wow.
He's going to get healthy. He's 20 years old. He's scary, talented, and fast. I absolutely love him. And then the other guy that, he gets me excited a little bit is Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa. Reminds me of Ryan Ramczyk. And I might be on my own island there, but I really like his game. I could see him being like a Ramczyk, as I mentioned. And the other guy that I just think is going to be a great player that really nobody's excited about is Derek Stingley Jr. He had that great first year at LSU, and I think for the last 2 years he's just preparing for the draft. And once he becomes professional, he's playing for money. It wouldn't surprise me if all of a sudden he's one of the best corners in the NFL.
If Jameson Williams didn't tear the ACL at the end of the year, would he be a top 5 pick?
That's what I asked earlier. I think he goes 4 overall to the Jets, and you could put him up there with some of the great Alabama wide receiver prospects we've seen over the years, and it's just rare to see a guy run through defenses in the SEC like he did.
Wow. We've talked about Jameson Williams a lot here with the Jaguars having a need at wide receiver. And that's what I wanted to end with you with at the wide receiver position. I've made this contention. You give Christian Kirk $37 million guaranteed. You give Zay Jones a 3-year, $30 million deal. A 1-year, $9 million deal for Evan Ingram. Would you have any trepidation, Chad, after all that money at the tight end and wide receiver position, still drafting a tight end or wide receiver at, say, 33?
What it does is creates a ton of competition. So guys like Laviska Shenault, Jamal Agnew, and maybe you could move a Marvin Jones in a trade. But until you really have the wide receiver group figured out, I think you got to keep throwing stones at it. It's just become such an important position in the NFL. So maybe it's a day 3 idea with, Justin Ross type. But no, they got to keep drafting wide receivers. And, ultimately Evan Ingram's there on a 1-year deal, so tight end should be an option as well.
Chad, I could do this with you for hours. Always enjoy the conversation. I would imagine if you go to @NFL Draft Bites on Twitter Thursday night, you will have a ton of material flowing out there on social media during the draft.
That's the idea. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Chad, thank you, man. Always appreciate it. Really enjoy the conversation with Chad Forbes every single time I get him on. Again, @NFL Draft Bites on Twitter. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We're glad you're with us on Hacker After Dark. By the way, reminder, as always, Hacker After Dark streaming right now all the way to midnight on the 1010XL YouTube channel. Just go to 1010XL on YouTube, and you can stream the show, and also every night on my personal Twitter, @RyanGreen1010XL. More on the Jaguars, more on the draft in the 11 o'clock hour. John Shipley of Jaguar Report, Josh Edwards of CBS Sports. More to do. Glad you're with us on a Tuesday night here in the great city of Jacksonville, Florida.
1010XL thanks you for 15 great years on the First Coast.
Steve Griffin brought us to 1010XL when they started this plan to have this sports talk radio station all local, all the time, and it was so exciting, and it's been so much fun for the last 15 years.
Check out the 15th anniversary video series on YouTube, Facebook, and 1010XL.com.
Are you tired of hearing that something you're looking for isn't available? Or worse, you have to wait a year to get it? Because we love our customers, we did something kind of big. Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet invested over $20 million in building the biggest, most diverse used car inventory just for you. We have hundreds, make that thousands of vehicles to choose from, all priced to sell. You'll only find that kind of selection at Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville or Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine. Don't make us come get you.
Hiring today for tomorrow. Waste Management.
WM is now offering a $5,000 new hire bonus to CDL drivers and diesel techs for job opportunities at our sites in Jacksonville and Green Cove Springs.
In-person, on-the-spot hiring events for both sites are taking place Friday and Saturday, April 29th and 30th. Friday, 9 a.m. till 2 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. till noon.
That's Friday and Saturday, April 29th and 30th. Friday, 9 till 2 and Saturday, 9 till noon.
In Jacksonville, interviews will be at 9798 Normandy Boulevard. That's 9798 Normandy Boulevard in Jacksonville.
And in Green Cove Springs, interviews happen at 1336 Covey Court. That's 1336 Covey Court in Green Cove Springs.
Walk-ins welcome, but save time and pre-apply online at wm.com/WM Career Day. That's wm.com/WM Career Day. Search Jacksonville and Green Cove Springs, Florida.
A people-first, military-friendly, equal opportunity employer.
We are WM. The Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute is now offering online scheduling for new patient appointments for all of their positions. Simply schedule your appointment on your cell phone, tablet, or desktop. JOI is the first orthopedic practice in North Florida to offer this feature to patients. To schedule your appointment online, visit joi.net and click on the button at the top of the page. If you'll be using insurance, be sure and have your information handy. JOI, where the pros go.
Mike Dempsey here. You know what? Tax time is tire time, too. If you're lucky enough to have a tax refund coming your way, take care of your ride with brand new tires from Tire Outlet. They carry all major brands and have the absolute best selection, quality, and prices of any tire shop in Jacksonville. Financing is available, no hard credit check. See Tire Outlet's April Money Pages ad for big savings in tax time.
Wholesale prices, premium service, Tire Outlet.
Every day you hear interesting and insightful conversations from national names on the Farah and Farah phone line.
I insist on complete honesty. If you have something to say to me, I wish you would just say it.
Brought to you by the accident attorneys at Farah and Farah on 1010XL, the flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL-FM, Jacksonville Beach.
As a business owner, it can feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Spot On works with local restaurants to get them set up with the technology needed to stay competitive and made specifically for you. Spot On is a cloud-based point-of-sale system that takes orders and payments, but also addresses labor constraints by increasing efficiencies through handhelds and QR code technology. Call me, Jamie Watson, at 333-4325 or email me at jwatson@spoton.com. I'm here to help.
Jacksonville, welcome back to family affordable fun with the action-packed, over-the-wall excitement of Sharks Arena football. Join the best fans in the Shark Tank. Don't miss the Sharks home opener against the Albany Empire. Get your Jacksonville Sharks season tickets now. Call 904-621-0700. That's 904-621-0700 or visit jacksharks.com today.
Captain Kevin Favor here, and do you store your boat and boat trailer separately? If so, I want to tell you about Stack'em Storage. They store your boat trailer in a secure warehouse out of the elements, and here's the cool thing. Stack'em Storage will pick up your trailer from you, store it in a secure warehouse, do a 5-point inspection, and deliver it back to you where and when you need it. Call Captain Pat at 962-9605. Use code FAVOR, that's F-A-V-E-R, and get a $50 gift card to Strike Zone. Visit stackmstorage.com.
Hey, David here with Rural Pest Services. When we have a product rep tell us they have a new product they're offering and how great it is, we don't just take their word for it. We do our own testing before we put it into our treatment program. Well, we found one. It's a granular aeration. Gone are the days of broken sprinkler heads and busted irrigation lines. No more ruts in the yard or hundreds of unsightly plugs from the heavy aeration machine. The only thing we'll be breaking up is your soil. It's also excellent for new sod installs. Visit RoyalPestServices.com for more information and to schedule a free estimate.
Like working outdoors and want better pay and benefits? Superior Fence and Rail is seeking full-time fence installers with pay ranging from $16 to $25 an hour and more with commercial experience. Superior Fence and Rail will train you to work with their professional team and provide you with all the tools you need to be a top-notch installer. Get off the fence. Call Superior Fence and Rail today and start your career.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000.
11 o'clock hour has arrived in the city of Jacksonville with you till midnight, as we are every Tuesday, 10 to midnight, 8 to 10 tomorrow. Off Thursday due to NFL draft coverage, which we will certainly all be enjoying that. And then Friday night, we're on 8 to 10 during rounds 2 and 3. Now, the Jaguars will have already made their second round selection. That should come in the 7 o'clock hour. Hopefully, they will make both of their third round selections while we are on here on Hacker After Dark. And former Dallas Cowboy head coach Dave Campo will be sitting in studio with me on Friday night as round 2 and round 3 of the NFL draft are in progress. Do want to keep you up to date as well on the NBA playoffs. There is one game ongoing, Game 5 out in Phoenix between the Pelicans and the Suns. The Suns have pulled away to a 43-28 lead midway through the second quarter. The Miami Heat have eliminated Atlanta. The Heat win that series 4-1 with a 97-94 win tonight. And Memphis on a Ja Morant basket with 1 second to go beats Minnesota 111-109. The Grizzlies now lead that series 3-2. If you look back into the NFL draft, if you look at other rumors that are out there, speculation that's out there, it's interesting what happens after Jacksonville and the dominoes that are going to fall after Jacksonville makes their pick. Because depending on who Jacksonville takes, Detroit then, if Hutchinson's there, Detroit's going to take Hutchinson. But if Hutchinson goes to Jacksonville, what does Detroit do? There is legitimate talk out of Houston that Derek Stingley, the corner from LSU, potentially could be in play. And then that brings us to the New York Jets, who have 2 picks inside the top 10. And there's a report coming out from New York tonight that they potentially are going to move on from Mekhi Becton, who they spent a high draft pick on 2 years ago at left tackle. And if they move on from Mekhi Becton, one would think that at number 4, either Ike Ekwonu or Evan Neal would fit in right there with New York. And isn't that going to be, I guess interesting is not the right word, but it's going to be very, well, I guess I'll use it, very interesting to see what happens with these other players. Look, for the last 3 months, we've talked about Walker and Hutchinson and Neal and Ekwonu, and we've learned about these guys. We've had guests on talking about them. We know about these 4 guys. Only one of them is going to be a Jacksonville Jaguar after Thursday night. And let's say they do draft Travon Walker. Then all the homework we've done, all the interviews we've done, all the studying we've done on Hutchinson, Neal, and Ekwonu, you know a lot about them. It'll be very, very curious to follow their careers along, see how they go. And whoever the Jaguars draft, if it's Walker, he will be forever compared to Hutchinson and Thibodeau. Those 3 are going to be linked forever being in the same draft class. Same thing with Neal and Ekwonu. And I guess maybe you could even lump a Charles Cross out of Mississippi State, who will be the best left tackle in this year's draft. I mean, you talk about the Luke Jokel draft, right? Obviously, it didn't work out for Jacksonville. Who was he always compared to? Eric Fisher. Fisher went 1, Jokel went 2. Same thing will happen this year. If the Jaguars draft Walker, he'll always be compared to Hutchinson and Thibodeau. If they draft Hutchinson, he'll always be compared to Walker, and vice versa. Jaguars will make that pick in less than 48 hours. We will be with you until midnight tonight, and then from 8 to 10 tomorrow here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. John Shipley from the Jaguar Report. Love John's work. Does a great job. He's next, talking Jaguar draft here on Hacker After Dark.
It's not set to the frequency. It's right here. Hello. No. Wrong frequency. What's the frequency, by the way?
1010XL.
Empire Works Reconstruction is seeking to fill multiple positions for carpenters, window installers, painters to demo workers. These positions earn from $18 to $25 per hour depending on work experience and get a consistent 40-hour work week Monday through Thursday, leaving your Fridays to fish or golf while getting paid. To get started, call 407-982-0640, 407-982-0640, or online at empireworks.com. Positions are local to Jacksonville, equal opportunity employer.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
We have talked about the number of homicides we have had. The one thing we have not talked about is the number of shootings. We have had 166 shootings this year. When a person is shot with one of these guns today, their life is practically ruined. The bullets are so big that whenever it hits, it tears that part of the body up. We as a community have got to come together and assist JSO to remove these individuals from our streets. JSO cannot do it by themselves. They need our help. They were not there when it happened. Break the code of silence and tell what we know. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think.
For information about Mad Dad, go to Mad Dad's Jacksonville Chapter Facebook or MadDadJacksonville.com.
Question, do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. Hey, Jeff Prosser here. Do you need cash for that home improvement or want to finally be rid of your credit card debt? How does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound right now? Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy, zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value, use that money to pay off all your high-interest debt or remodel your kitchen or both. Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They are doing loans with super low APRs, and they love working with veterans. In fact, Loan Pronto does zero down purchase for veterans buying a new home. So call now and see what your options are. 999-1508. Go to loanpronto.com or call 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, MLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Oh, crap.
What?
Crap.
Crap?
Yes, crap, literally.
Come again?
The toilet's backing up.
Oh, crap.
While a situation like this may be the first time you meet Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing and Septic Services, know that we also handle leaks, pipe bursts, any kind of plumbing issue.
When you're stuck, call the Duck. 904-862-6769.
If you've been injured, your insurance company may try to downplay your pain. I'm Holt Harrell, and making sure that you are compensated is what I do. Don't deal with insurance companies alone. Call me, 251-1111. Harrell & Harrell, offices Jacksonville.
Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialist congratulating our Scholar Athlete of the Week, Joy Rucker, senior at Riverside High School. Joy is a track and field athlete and also plays flag football for Riverside. She will be attending the Naval Academy. Congratulations, Joy.
This is Brandon with North Florida Epoxy Floors. Our product includes a moisture vapor barrier, essential in Florida, so your new epoxy floor looks great and is warranted with no fine print. Get a free estimate at northfloridaepoxyfloors.com.
Here at Citrus Distillers, we're Duval till we die. And that's why we're happy to announce we are a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look for our amazing locally distilled whiskeys at your favorite liquor store. Going out for a concert or event? Remember to visit your local Whiskey King at the Distillers Bar in ViStar Memorial Arena. Find us on social media for fun drink recipes and more. Citrus Distillers, proud partner of the Jaguars and your local Whiskey King. Cheers.
Men, when you're in the mood for love, but you have ED or PE and those little blue pills haven't worked, here's a message from Prime Men's Medical Center.
I'm Dr. Rabinski.
If Viagra, Cialis, or Levitra have let you down, Prime Men's Medical Center offers custom blended medications. Men are lasting 30, 60, 90 minutes or longer, and it's affordable.
Call 904-664-8217. We guarantee you'll see results on your first visit or you pay nothing. Call 904-664-8217.
Estate cleanouts, hoarding cleanouts, old appliances, and even tools. There are tons of reasons why you or someone you know may need expert help clearing space. J-Dog Junk Removal will responsibly help you free up space. That means when they leave your place, it looks better. Whether it's you or a loved one that needs one type of clean out at your home, trust the veterans at J-Dog Junk Removal. Veteran owned and operated. Call 844-GET-JDOG or visit jdog.com.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. Now.
Hello.
Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. We're glad you're with us. It is draft week in the city of Jacksonville. Some excitement. Personally, I'm a little bit relieved that I won't have to say the names Aiden Hutchinson, Ike Ekwonu, Evan Neal, or Travon Walker, at least together for quite some time. We will have to say one of those names because, of course, one of those guys more than likely will be the number one pick on Thursday night. John Shipley does a terrific job for SI. He covers the Jacksonville Jaguars for the Jaguar page there on Sports Illustrated, and he joins us here on 1010XL. John, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, John, we certainly appreciate it. You can follow him at Jaguar Report. Does a terrific job, again, the Sports Illustrated Jaguar website. John, you and I have talked off air. We've talked when you were at the radio station filling in for on Jaguars Today and sitting in with Mike and Tony. Boy, what a roller coaster this last couple of weeks and even months has been. All culminates on Thursday night. What does your gut feeling tell you? What are the Jaguars going to do here in a couple of days?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely, like you said, been a roller coaster. I think the fact that this year has no true, consensus number one player, I think has, really added to the mystery around the number one pick. Because it's not like there's a mystery because, they have so many bountiful options and they can't just pick. That's because nobody can agree on who, the best player in this class is because there's no clear guy who has separated himself from the pack. So my guess still is, as of today, Aiden Hutchinson. I know I'm in a very dwindling group of people who still think he's going to be the pick. I know, Travon Walker is now the betting favorite. Adam Schefter said, I believe yesterday on ESPN, that there's been less and less momentum for Hutchinson to go first. He thinks it'll be Walker or Ekwonu. But I just feel like the Jaguars are going to see the number one pick. They're going to see 4 wins in the last 2 years, and they're going to think, okay, we need to take, for once in the franchise's, history, we need to do the safe and sure thing and not get cute with the pick.
Don, my first year in radio was when they drafted Byron Leftwich in 2003. And you go through the years, whether it's been as a producer, a co-host, an on-air host. We have had so many guests on over the last 2 decades previewing Jaguar drafts. And particularly, obviously, when they're in the top 5. I got to be honest with you, man. Here we are 2 days out, and it's making my head hurt. You could legitimately make an argument for 4 guys, Ekwonu, Neal, Hutchinson, and Walker. The amount of guests we've had on, I'd say it's almost a split right down the middle. I've had many people tell me it's going to be Hutchinson. I've had many people tell me Walker, and as recently as earlier tonight, I had some people tell me it's going to be Ekwonu. It is amazing that we're on the doorstep here, and there is so much intrigue still surrounding this number one pick.
Yeah, I think even the agent, for Ekwonu and Hutchinson, Mike McCartney, I think even he tweeted out, earlier today, it's Tuesday, and we still have no idea, what's happening. So I think that really, honestly kind of puts it right there, nail on the head that just with this draft class, there are so few things that people know, especially about the top 10. I feel like last year was one of the more predictable years. Like, everybody knew who was going 1 and 2. Everybody knew Atlanta was going to take Kyle Pitts most likely. Everybody knew, Cincinnati was going to go to Chase. This year, I feel like there's no, chalk picks like that you can just instantly say are going to happen.
John Shipley covers the Jaguars for Jaguar Report. You can also follow him on Twitter at _John_Shipley. All right, John. So Travon Walker, let's at least begin there. The rapid ascension of Travon Walker since the Combine. When I heard that there was legitimate interest from Jacksonville, I thought it was a smokescreen a month ago. I even thought it was probably a smokescreen 2 weeks ago. That talk won't go away. And I'm not saying they're going to do it on Thursday night, but man alive, if that's a rumor, that's a pretty good one, because it's been around now for quite some time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I really believe, he's in that, group of 4 players that Trent Baalke mentioned last week. I think, if you just listen to how Baalke answered, questions about Travon Walker last week, I thought it was clear, how high he is on him. He went as far to say, he's productive in his own way, where, most people look at Travon Walker and think he's one of the, not just least productive players, rumored to go in the top 5 or so, but one of the least, productive players in the draft in general. I believe he had 13 career quarterback hits, 9.5 sacks, 13.5 tackles for loss. But the Jaguars have said they see him as a productive player. And in my eyes, if they think, okay, he's productive, then I'm not sure what other red flags there are, because he obviously has all the athleticism you want. He has positional and scheme versatility. I think, the biggest difference between him and Hutchinson, and I do think if they go Walker, the reason why they would do this is because he's simply much more versatile. You can ask him, he can play the edge, with his hand down. He can stand up, outside the offensive tackle. He can slide inside. Whereas Hutchinson, I think he's best as a 4-3 defensive end, simply moving forward all the time, not as much dropping in space. And that's really why I think they're so in on Travon Walker.
John, maybe this is a bad analogy. Tell me what you think. When the bases are loaded in baseball, you don't necessarily have to hit a grand slam, right? You hit a ball over to the left side, you get that run in from third, and that's good. And for this Jaguar organization, I don't know if Aiden Hutchinson would be a grand slam. I tend to doubt it. But I do believe more times than not he's going to get that run home from third, meaning I think he's going to be an above average to good football player. With as many strikes and misses as this team has had, really going back 15 years now, even longer than that, I don't know if I necessarily need to swing for the fence with a Travon Walker. I think I want just a good player in Aiden Hutchinson. That's why I'm leading that way. I think you might have leaned that way too. What do you think about Hutchinson and his prospects?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I have them graded, fairly close to each other, just because I think when you talk about Hutchinson, people get this idea that there's a lack of upside just because, he was such a productive player last year and he doesn't strike you as, the player with a ton of physical traits. But, his combine showed he's one of the more athletic pass rushers to enter the draft in the last couple of years. Really, the only thing he's missing is that comfort, dropping back in space and, the prototypical length that you see in pass rushers taken so highly. I think you can instantly count on him to be, even as early as a rookie, an 8 or 9 sack guy who's good against the run. I'm not sure he's ever going to be a dominant number 1 pass rusher, but I think if you put him, on a team like Jacksonville that already has a solid pass rusher on the other end, and Josh Allen and some guys that, they think can get pressure up the middle, and Arden Key and Roy Robson Harris, I think he just makes sense as, an instant production fit. So that's why I really think that he will be the pick, because, there's no projection with him. How he fits in. You more or less know how he will produce at the next level. Whereas with Walker, I think, he might be a guy who you don't really see start to pay off dividends until year 2, year 3, maybe even year 4.
John, you follow this team very, very closely, man. Enjoy your work at Jaguar Report. Enjoy your work on Twitter. Certainly love having you on 1010XL. So I'm curious to ask a guy like you who's around this team all the time. Before I even ask about Neal and Aquanu, do you think they're going to give Cam Robinson a long-term extension?
I do think so. I really believe that he's going to get a multiple-year contract around 3 to 4 years, and I honestly think that as soon as a week after the draft, I think we're going to start, having that come out more and more that they're getting closer to lock him up. I don't think it makes any sense for them before the draft to announce it, just because that destroys all potential leverage you have. But I do think, before training camp, he will be on a new contract.
So if they are planning on giving Cam a long-term extension, I tend to agree with you on that. Doesn't that eliminate Neal and Aquanu? Because if you're going to pay Cam Robinson left tackle dollars and an extension, you got Walker Little on the right side, I suppose, battling with Jawan Taylor, unless you're just completely done with both of them. For the life of me, I cannot imagine drafting a guard at number 1 in the draft.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And that's why I've been, ever since they tagged Cam Robinson, I've kind of been on the, the side of I really don't think an offensive lineman at one is likely at all. And, I know all the Ekwonu rumors over the last few days and, the rumors that Doug Peterson, might favor Ekwonu if he had to make the pick. I think at the end of the day, the Jaguars are going to be choosing between an edge rusher or a left guard. And even, for as much as people get on to, Trent Baalke for maybe being a little backward thinking, I don't think even he would, have his stamp of approval on taking a guard over a pass rusher. So, while I think Peterson probably does want an offensive player, I just don't think they're, set up to take a tackle right now.
So I know I asked you earlier before we move on later in the draft, but I guess let's get the official prognostication. You believe, John Shipley, that it's going to be Aiden Hutchinson on Thursday night?
I do.
And I would be okay with that. And I think Jaguar fans, Jaguar fans are so odd to me in the sense that the ones on Twitter, and they're diehard, they're passionate, they seemingly have locked on to Travon Walker and the upside. I get the sense, John, tell me if I'm wrong, that there will be people that are upset if they draft Aiden Hutchinson.
I do think there are some people that will definitely be upset. I don't think, like last year, it was obvious for Trevor Lawrence that if you wanted to pick to make everybody happy, it was Trevor Lawrence. A few years ago, it would have been a guy, like Myles Garrett, or a few years ago, a guy like Nick Bosa. This year, I don't think there's any one guy that's going to please everybody. I think, there's solidly some camps and Tank Hutchinson, he's a safe prospect. I think there's plenty of people in the camp of taking offensive linemen and just, have a great offensive line for Trevor. And then I think there are people, like you said, who are in the camp of, hey, Walker is so high upside and has so many traits to bet on that he can't miss.
Number one is getting all the talk, but certainly the Jaguars have 11 additional picks, including 33 in the second round and then 65 and 70 in the third round. John, is it as simple as interior offensive line, maybe inside linebacker, wide receiver? What do you see the biggest positions of need in round 2 and round 3?
Yeah, no, I absolutely do think, you hit the nail on the head on the positions of need. I think, either guard or center. They've been linked to some of the top centers in this class, like Cam Jurgens in Nebraska has been talked about as a potential second-round option for them. I know center at 33 would surprise people, but to me, I would say just look at the Jaguars draft last year. I think Trent Baalke, his entire philosophy as a general manager is, to take the highest graded player, really ignore, whether it's a need or not, because, nobody saw running back as a need at 25. Not many people saw cornerback at the time as a need at number 33 overall. Not many people saw left tackle as a need at number 45 when they took Walker Little. So I really could see them, surprise people and take a position that, maybe people don't think they need as much, a position like center, maybe, Trey McBride at tight end. So I could see them surprise people, but linebacker or guard is where my money would be at.
Do you believe they make 12 picks this weekend, or are they going to move around, you think, in the draft?
I think they make 11 or 10. I think they make a couple trades on day 3, Jordan Smith type trades where they trade up in the 4th or maybe the 5th round to get some day 3 guys that they have graded highly. But I don't think they make any, super aggressive moves to move up in the back into the 1st or in the 2nd or anything like that. So I think they make most of their picks, but I'd envision, at least one day 3 trade.
Final moments here with John Shipley. You can follow him at Jaguar Report. That is, of course, part of Sports Illustrated. John, I haven't really talked to you since free agency, and I want to talk about the playmakers. All right, let's assume that they draft a wide receiver maybe in round 3, maybe in round 4. So you got a middle-tier round wide receiver. Combine that with Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram. John, did they do enough this offseason under that scenario to put enough around Trevor to make him successful here in year 2?
I think you can definitely make an argument that they've done much more than they did, say last year. But I just, when you look at, what some of the opposing offenses in the, NFL have done, just look at, the Miami Dolphins. I don't think anybody would say, they'd rather have Tua than Trevor Lawrence. But the Dolphins, they've been aggressive. They have Jalen Waddle. They have Tyreek Hill. They have, one of the better pass catching tight ends in the NFL, Mike Gesicki. They have Cedric Wilson. There are other teams who have been, much more aggressive than the Jaguars. I'd say even the Jets have been, more aggressive and really efficient in finding skill players. But I do think the Jaguars took the right step forward in terms of just raising the floor of the skill player room. I'm not sure if the ceiling is where you want it, but I do think they've done enough to ensure that they can at least have, a serviceable offense that's not, like a car blowing out a gasket every week.
Hey, John, final question for you, man. We talk about the guys that have come in this offseason. I want to talk about the guys that left. And granted, there were not a lot of W's with these guys, but I made a list here, and when you look at it, from A.J. Cann to Andrew Norwell to Taven Bryan, Brandon Linder retired, DJ Chark, Miles Jack. I mean, those are all guys that spent 4+ years in a Jaguar uniform. The changing of the guard this offseason has been really something. And I know that we'll really start seeing that when they get on the field for OTAs at the end of May. But my goodness, the amount of guys that played a lot of football in a Jaguar uniform that are no longer here after this offseason was pretty striking.
Yeah, no, I really think, some of, like you said, the faces of, really the franchise are gone. And I think the biggest area where, they're going to have to look at addressing that is finding leaders. I mean, some of those names that you mentioned, guys like Brandon Linder, guys like Miles Jack, those are guys, arguably two of the most respected guys on the team. I remember, in the years I've covered a team, every time I've talked to any non-Miles Jack linebacker, they've said to me, how much Miles, helped them with the defensive scheme, with, getting them caught up on all their responsibilities and how they saw him as the teacher of the room. And, Brandon Linder was the very same thing for the offense. And I mean, even, beginning of the season, he was huge for Trevor Lawrence because of all he did in terms of, setting the pass protection. So I think a big thing the Jaguars need to figure out, especially over this next year or two, is identify next generation of leaders.
John Shipley, you get him at Jaguar Report, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. John, I know you got a very busy 48 to 72 hours ahead of you, brother. We certainly appreciate it. Let's do it again after the draft, review what the Jaguars did.
Yeah, looking forward to it, man. Thanks for having me on.
Always appreciate John Shipley, Jaguar Report, joining us here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM here in Jacksonville. One thing that I guess struck me earlier today, I don't necessarily even know if I have a problem with it. It was just surprising. Sarah Walsh, a UNF alum, I think does a terrific job, formerly of ESPN, now with the NFL Network, is in town this week. Obviously, the Jaguars have the number 1 pick in the draft. And you very rarely see this, or at least I can't remember it happening, where she basically asked some of the players today during a voluntary veteran minicamp down there at the stadium who they would take with the number 1 pick. And I don't know how often that sort of thing happens. Maybe it happens more than I realize. But guys go in public with what they would do with the number 1 pick was kind of striking to me. Here's Sarah Walsh earlier on the NFL Network.
The Jags are having their first practice under Doug Peterson. The draft party prep is happening behind me. And Kirk, one of their newest receivers, he disagreed with Bucky Brooks. Every player I've talked to so far says this team should take an edge rusher. And Kirk told me, being from an SEC school, he knows what vaunted SEC defenses can do. He said he would take Aiden Hutchinson or he would take Trayvon Walker out of Georgia. He said that's an important piece for this team, and that's the direction he would go. I've heard it from a couple of guys that matches what a lot of the mock draft boards are saying, Andrew.
Yeah, again, I don't – it's weird because I don't think that bothers me. I'm trying to convey my thoughts. It's just odd to me, and Gibby, tell me if I'm wrong. That just seems odd to me that, A, you would ask guys on the team what they would do, and it's even more odd that they would go on the record saying what they would do with the number 1 pick in the draft. What did you think when you heard that?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you don't quite often hear. A lot of times players will say, I'm good with whoever the coach wants to pick or whoever the general manager wants to pick. Just bring in guys that are going to help the team. So you normally hear that toeing the company line type of answer. But, hey, good for Sarah Walsh. She got a good answer out of Christian Kirk and some of the other guys. But I think it's interesting that those guys that are on the football team, hey, this is what we need. We're on the team. We know what we need. So good stuff, I think.
Yeah, no, look, again, I love opinions. We criticize coaches, athletes for not giving their opinion. I just think it's odd to an extent that they were asked the question and that they did it on the record. as far as who they would take with the number 1 pick, particularly a guy like Kirk who's on offense. You know, he says, hey, bolster that defense a little bit. We don't need any help on offense. Maybe I like the confidence of that. Look, they've done a lot on offense. When you bring in Brandon Sheriff, when you franchise Cam Robinson, when you sign Christian Kirk, you sign Evan Ingram, you sign Zay Jones, you've done a lot. Speaking of Zay Jones, by the way, told you guys earlier I was in Las Vegas the last 5 days. You always get a lot of information from the Uber drivers, Gibby, in the Vegas area. The Uber drivers talk to a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
This one particular Uber driver that I had was a diehard Raider fan. By the way, that stadium out there, holy moly, what a cathedral that thing is. Absolutely incredible seeing that thing up close. But I was talking to my Uber driver about Zay Jones, and he conveyed to me in not so many words, how on earth did you guys give him that much money? So I guess they weren't all that upset that Zay Jones left. I like the Zay Jones signing. I think if given the opportunity, he's really going to flourish here. But at least one Raider fan out in the Las Vegas area did not seem all that upset that Zay Jones was on his way to Jacksonville. But real quick, back to the that stadium. Gibby, I took a helicopter ride over the Las Vegas Strip.
Oh, you did?
And they'll fly you right over the Strip, and the stadium's just off to the right of the Strip. Absolutely incredible. They did it right out there. The Golden Knights, the Raiders. I was wondering if they were going to build those things away from all the tourists and all the things that go on at the Strip in Las Vegas. No, sir. They put it basically right in the middle of everything. It is there. Parking looks like it's not that big a deal. I didn't know where they were going to park everybody, but they did it right out in Vegas. It looks awesome.
So with, with COVID still being a little bit there, not obviously what it was, has Vegas returned to Vegas?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah?
Yes. The casinos were rocking. We went to Penn and Teller. It was sold out. Again, it was only my second time to Vegas. I had been out there in 2017, so I don't have it that much to compare it to, but it was basically the way it was 5 years ago. I didn't notice any differences. It was a festive time, to say the least. It'll hopefully be a festive time for the Jaguars. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Keep in mind, one pick as of now on Thursday. They pick 3 times on Friday. They're scheduled to pick 8 times on Saturday, including 4 picks in round 6 alone. A total of 12 picks as of right now for the Jaguars. Josh Edwards, CBSSports.com. On a national level, Josh Edwards has put a mock draft out every week since Labor Day. Think about that for a second. For CBS Sports, he has put a mock draft out every week since Labor Day. What is his life like? The culmination of 7 months of work coming on Thursday night. We'll talk to Josh Edwards of CBSSports.com next on Hacker After Dark.
Draft Day is Thursday, and 1010XL will bring you everything you need to know all day long. The Franchi Show and Baloo are live at Draft Central from 3 to 7.
More!
Followed by the Jaguars Draft broadcast.
I'm ready.
Draft all day with 1010XL.
Hacker here for Prize Picks. All right, sports fanatics, have you heard about Prize Picks? It's the daily fantasy made easy. I love it. You will too. In fact, I was a winner tonight in Prize Picks thanks to Trae Young not doing very much in the Atlanta-Miami game. Prize Picks has the best NBA prop games on the market. They also offer more NBA props than any other daily fantasy sports operator, and they offer every player and stat category you can think of. For all the listeners that deposit and use promo code JAX, you will receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 at Prize Picks. Again, NBA props, all you want. Go to prizepicks.com, enter promo code JAX for a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. It's addicting. I love it. You will too. Don't hesitate. Prizepicks.com right now or download their app today.
Find your why with membership at the First Coast YMCA. Whether it's improving your health, learning to swim, coaching youth sports, or even joining the staff, everyone can find a way to be involved at the Y. Take a tour today and discover all the benefits of YMCA membership, including personal and group exercise classes, adult sports leagues, complimentary youth sports and kids zone, and so much more with no annual contracts. Find your why today. Visit fcymca.org.
Do you have joint pain in your knees or hips or shoulder or back? Pro football legend Emmitt Smith knows how disruptive it is.
How can you focus? How can you be at your optimal best when your body's under attack by pain?
That's why Emmitt's such a proponent of QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is here with regenerative options using natural biologics, non-surgical alternatives that offer lasting relief for pain in your knees, hips, lower back, and shoulders.
This natural biological treatment gives them the chance to get back in the game and to have a normal life.
QC Kinetics treatments laser focus on areas of intense pain, allowing your body to heal itself with no drugs, so you can focus on normal life.
Walking up the stairs without pain, getting on your bicycle without pain, running again, playing with the kids.
Your consultation is absolutely free.
Call QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522.
Hey, Matt Hayes here, and I took my car to Expert Automotive on Beach Boulevard. Check this out. They saved me more than 25% on my repair. Plus, they offer a free lifetime warranty on all repairs. Think about that. I never have to pay for that service again. Crazy good deal. Cleanest waiting room I've ever seen, unbelievable service techs, and their customer service is the best, period. They really don't sell greed, just what you need. Check out their amazing Google reviews and visit expertautojacks.com. Expert Automotive on Beach and Peach. Go see them.
Follow the offseason with 1010XL and Tire Outlet, who could soon be coming to Jacksonville. This is the big leagues. Find out with our draft previews.
He's our #1 draft pick.
Brought to you by Community First Credit Union and Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Do you know someone whose work in the community deserves the limelight? Nominate them at TIAABank.com/community champion so we can celebrate their impact on equity, education, or the environment. Each champion will enjoy a Jaguars game from VIP field seats, see their story told on the big screens, and receive $1,000 towards their cause. Nominate someone before May 6th. Visit TIAABank.com/community champion for details.
Hey folks, it's Mike Dempsey for Pella Windows and Doors. Now you probably heard me mention that errant golf ball that led us to replace our windows. And obviously, if I'm investing in my home's appearance and comfort, I want the best. Well, now my new Pella windows are installed and they look fantastic. And we've already noticed the difference in outside noise reduction and energy savings. So if you need to replace your windows or doors, visit my friends at the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway or check them out online at PellaJacks.com. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
Love seafood and want only the freshest seafood in Jacksonville? Sliders Oyster Bar is back open and should be your first choice when craving anything from Mayport shrimp to fresh oysters. So when you're out at the beach, stop into the beach's best oyster bar for the last 40-plus years. Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach, open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner to fulfill that seafood craving. We are back open, fully renovated, with more seating to serve the freshest seafood around. Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach, locally owned by Safe Harbor Seafood.
Nothing says spring like golfing on the weekends, but unfortunately, it's also time to green up the lawn, so let's do some math. Booking a tee time through a discount golf app will easily pay for Peninsular Pest Control to come out to the house and take care of your lawn from spring all the way through the end of the year. From fertilization to chinch bugs or even mole crickets, they even have a pro shrub service. Hiring Peninsular is sure to make everyone in the house happy. Find us at CritterGetter.com.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. Now,
hello.
Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL, a 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, the NFL Draft. We are on the doorstep, and we will find out what the Jacksonville Jaguars will do with the #1 pick. One of our mock draft guys that we go to every year here on 1010XL is Josh Edwards. CBSSports.com is where you find his work, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Josh, how we doing?
Doing fantastic, man. It's draft week. We finally get some answers to the questions we've been asking for a long time.
Always curious to talk to guys like you, Ryan Wilson, your peer there at CBS Sports. We have him on as well. You guys do mock drafts months and months in advance, and now we're finally here. It's finally draft week. What is it like for guys like you who have followed these prospects now for the better part of the last calendar year?
Yeah, it is the culmination of, like you said, months of work. I mean, we put out a mock draft weekly dating back to September. So we have probably covered every situation that could possibly be covered at this point in time. And, it's good to finally end the speculation and see where some of these guys have been picked, because we all have our favorites at this point. We're all excited to see how their NFL careers actually play out, because that's where the real bragging rights comes into this, is being able to say, I hit on this guy, or, I was, I missed on this guy. Where did I miss? What did I not see? That kind of stuff. So it's all a learning process, but I think just to get some actual answers is the most rewarding part of draft week.
Josh, you've been covering the draft for many years now. The Jaguars have the number 1 pick. Can you remember a year where there are 48 hours, or under 48 hours now, to go until the draft, and there are still 3 or 4 names that are legitimately being talked about for that number 1 spot?
Yeah, I think back to, I believe it was 2018 with Baker Mayfield in that quarterback class. 48 hours before the draft, I think a lot of people probably thought it was going to be Sam Darnold, maybe even Josh Allen, and then suddenly it's Baker Mayfield getting all of the steam there towards the end of the process. But at least in that situation, we knew it was going to be a quarterback. We just didn't know which quarterback it was going to be. As it stands with Jacksonville, we have long thought that it was either going to be an offensive tackle or an edge rusher. And that seems to be where we stand 48 hours before the draft, but we don't seem to have any more clarity than maybe what we did even a month ago. The winds are blowing towards Trayvon Walker, but, are they going to invest in Trevor Lawrence and bring in an offensive lineman to strengthen that unit, even though they franchise tagged Cam Robinson? I think there are a few different ways that they could go that make sense, but ultimately I think it's one of the reasons why this draft carries as much intrigue as we've seen in recent years.
Josh, we've talked to a lot of guys. Again, Josh Edwards, CBSSports.com here, and I'm curious, as we get on the doorstep of the draft, a guy like you who's been following these guys, doing mock drafts now for going on, 7-8 months. Are you an Aiden Hutchinson guy or a Trayvon Walker guy, and why are you in that camp?
I actually have Kayvon Thibodeau as my top-rated edge rusher, and that's because that's strictly talent-based. I'm not sitting on these interviews. I don't have the insight to why teams may have some character concerns with Kayvon Thibodeau, but I just think he offers more upside to be a number 1 overall caliber player, and that's really what you're hoping to get out of the position. But at the same time, it's those draft busts at number 1 overall that has a lot of general managers looking for new employments, a couple years down the road. So it's a very difficult moment to be in if you are somebody that actually has a job on the line making that selection. Do you want to be risk averse and take a guy that probably has a higher floor and you feel like you know what you're going to get day in and day out as he comes into your locker room? Or do you want to take the guy that, maybe has a little more upside that could ultimately be that number 1 overall pick? Between those two players, I would probably be inclined to lean towards Trayvon Walker, just because his size and speed and, athletic profile combination is just off the charts. It's simply rare. I mean, we think about Myles Garrett in the way that he looked coming through the process. Physically, that's what Trayvon Walker looks like. He's not the same pass rusher as Myles was coming out of college, but he's a very polished run defender, so you're going to get a quality player in at least one aspect of the game, even if you wait and give him some time to develop in that other arena.
And for the record, Josh, there's a lot of guys that are Kayvon Thibodeau guys. And again, I don't know why, like you. I mean, Does he not particularly care about football? Is he too interested in his brand? We've heard a lot of different rumors, and that's all they are. They're rumors. But I can tell you, just by watching the games and watching the film, you watch Thibodeau compared to the other two, and quite frankly, a lot of it's better film than the other two. So I'm very curious to see where Thibodeau goes, and whomever the Jaguars take, whether it is a defensive lineman like Hutchinson or Walker, they will be forever compared to Thibodeau, who is likely to go later in the top 10. The Trayvon Walker talk here in Jacksonville, at least, is, well, he was on a great defense at Georgia, and he didn't stand out among that great defense, and should a number one pick have stood out more than he did. Josh, what's your response to that?
I think there is some truth to it to a degree. At the same time, I would push back a little bit and just say that's not the way that the defense was designed. They didn't work vertically as much as, some of these other traditional edge rushers in this class. The way that Jermaine Johnson was used at Florida State, the way that Aiden Hutchinson was used at Michigan. It was just a different defense in the way that they were used. They relied more on the traits, the size, the speed. They created chaos through stunts, forcing the opposing offensive line to communicate and pick up those stunts, because if they didn't, those players, that collection of talent that Georgia had on that front, was going to create chaos. I mean, they had talent, at both levels. All of those guys in the front seven are going to be drafted at some point. Somebody was going to get free. You couldn't double team everybody. So it was just a matter of creating opportunities, in that defense. That's what Georgia did. So it was just a little bit different usage. Now, at the end of the day, he's just not as polished of a pass rusher as some of these other guys. One thing that I think has probably been discussed in Jacksonville, and, it probably sounds ridiculous, but it's arm length. I think Trayvon Walker has 35.5-inch arms or something ridiculous like that. Whereas Aiden Hutchinson would have what is considered below average. And the way that translates is you're able to get your arms on your opponents quicker. You're able to dictate that player's movements quicker than, if you had shorter arms. So there's definitely something to that. And that's another reason what kind of differentiates Trayvon Walker's potential from Aiden Hutchinson, even though I think he's going to be a good player. So that would be my pushback for Trayvon Walker, is he's a guy that probably hasn't been used to his full potential to this point.
That's fair. And again, Josh Edwards, CBSSports.com. The pushback here in Jacksonville, Josh, towards Aiden Hutchinson, you mentioned the arm length, also the fact that he had one ridiculously good year in college and didn't do a whole lot the other 3 years. And people look at the Georgia game. I mean, we're in SEC country. And in the Orange Bowl, admittedly, Aiden Hutchinson did not play very well. Now, I mean, they were sending 2 and 3 blockers at him for a majority of that game, but Jaguar fans that do not want Aiden Hutchinson will immediately go to Miami, Florida, and what happened in the Orange Bowl.
I can understand that. I mean, we are all, susceptible to our own biases. I don't think that would be fair simply because of, like you said, the way that Georgia attacked him. Sending a couple of guys, chipping him quite a bit, running away from him. I just think that they took him out of the game. And as much as we talked about David Ajabo prior to his injury, he was more limited. He's not the run defender that Aiden Hutchinson is. So that prevented him from being on the field on every down. He was kept off the field quite a bit in that game, which puts a lot more pressure on Aiden Hutchinson to be, the contributor, the pass rush contributor in that defense. And when teams are running a couple of bodies at you, it just makes it incredibly impossible to be able to get off blocks and make the kind of plays that, fans are accustomed to you making.
When you talk about the offensive linemen, Josh, Ike Ekwonu, and of course Evan Neal, my thought is this. They franchised Cam Robinson. You brought that up earlier. There's even some conversation about a long-term deal potentially down the road coming for Cam Robinson. If they sign Cam Robinson to a long-term deal, to me, there's no way you draft Ekwonu or Neal to play guard for the next 5 years. I mean, it's one thing if you want to draft them, play him at guard for 1 year, Cam leaves, and then you swing him out to left tackle. But if Cam Robinson is indeed going to sign an extension that at least rumors are circulating he may in the coming weeks, That to me almost eliminates Aquanu and Neal. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I think there are some questions that probably only Jacksonville has answers to, because there's also been some talk that maybe they like Walker Little quite a bit too. I don't really know how they feel about Jawan Taylor at this point. So do you see them, one of these guys as a right tackle? Could you possibly move Cam Robinson inside? You probably will not if you're going to pay him left tackle money. So, I think a lot of that is going to be shown through their actions, but trying to project it has been very difficult, to be honest with you. And the only leg that I've had to stand on is the fact that you've got a franchise quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. So I don't think you can do too much to upgrade that offensive line. So if you do have a luxury of offensive tackles, or, you're moving a guy to guard, I'm still for that. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you need to make sure that Trevor Lawrence is going to have the pocket, presence that he needs. He's going to be clean. He's not going to have his confidence waver, because that first year was such a, wild experience for him. So I don't think you can do too much to upgrade that unit, but it's very difficult to project how they actually view that offensive line, because there are some pieces there that have you thinking, maybe this guy could be something down the road, maybe not. I don't know how to feel about him. So I think draft night is going to tell us truly how they feel.
A couple of more for Josh Edwards, CBSSports.com. All right, Josh, before we wrap up and look at picks 33 and 65, I got to ask you, you've done a lot of mock drafts. I know you did a 7-rounder not all that long ago. What do you believe the Jaguars will do when Roger Goodell walks to that podium on Thursday night in Las Vegas? Who will he announce as the first pick for the Jaguars?
I think he will announce Trayvon Walker, the edge rusher from Georgia. That's just the way that the winds seem to be blowing at this point. For the reasons that you just laid out along the offensive line, and the belief that they're kind of moving away from Aiden Hutchinson. I think that kind of leads me to believe that Trayvon Walker is probably last man standing.
Now, when you go to pick 33 and even 65 and 70, they got 4 in the top 70. We know inside linebacker, potentially interior offensive line. I still think they need help, certainly at wide receiver. What do you expect for Jacksonville with pick 33 and maybe even 65?
Yeah, I agree on wide receiver. I just look at what they've invested into that position this offseason, and it makes you believe, like, do they feel that way? Did you truly invest that much money into the position and still have a need? Much is to be said of the same conversation at cornerback over the past couple of years, but linebacker is a position that I certainly look at, and I think day 2 is the optimal time for you to get a linebacker. I think that's where you find the real value in this class, because you have Georgia's Quay Walker that could still, be there. You've got Nakobe Dean, who could honestly still be there. Devin Lloyd is a guy that I've had trouble finding landing spots late into the first round. You've got Chad Muma from Wyoming, Troy Anderson from Montana State, Christian Harris from Alabama. There's Leo Chanel from Wisconsin. There's a ton of options at the linebacker position on day 2, and I think Jacksonville is going to be in a very good position to capitalize on that. I also wouldn't be surprised if, they look to add maybe a tight end on day 3 at some point, get Trevor Lawrence, a guy that he's comfortable with there. There's a number of directions. Interior defensive line, it's not the strongest class for the interior defensive line, but at the end of the day, I think if you're adding best player available at each of those picks, you're going to come away with some really good players and feel good about where you stand in your rebuild process.
And Josh, I'm just curious as we begin to say goodbye to you. Aside from the Jaguar needs, we know edge rusher, offensive line, they're probably going to take one of those positions at number 1. But 5 years from now, when we look back on the 2022 draft, who will be the best player, in your opinion? Who will be the guy that rises above everybody else out of this draft class?
I will say that the best player ends up being Cincinnati cornerback Ahmad Sauce Gardner, because he checks the box with size and speed, but what really gives me the most confidence is just the way that he approaches the game. He's a very competitive player. He is a very confident player. And you need that at the cornerback position. You have got to have a short-term memory at that position, because you might be beat on one play. They may come back at you at the next play. So you better be able to get your head back into the game. And I think he's built the right way. So Sauce Gardner is my number one overall prospect right now. I've been saying here recently that it's a little bit of an unorthodox class in the way that I would say my rankings really start, at number 3, maybe even number 5 this year. I just don't see that number 1 caliber player the way that we saw last year, even with Trevor Lawrence. But I think Ahmad Sauce Gardner, for me, has separated himself down the stretch here, and I think he's got a very good chance to be successful in the NFL.
You can read Josh Edwards at cbssports.com. He does a terrific job covering the draft, and I always enjoy the conversation with him right here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Josh, thank you. Let's maybe hook up again in about a month, review what the Jaguars did. They got 12 picks. Certainly the roster is going to change quite a bit. Let's get together maybe at the end of May and review what happens here in Vegas.
Absolutely. I would love that. Thank you for having me.
Anywhere fans go to cheer on their team, there are behind-the-scenes MVPs ensuring everything is game day ready. We see you, Joe, fixing seats so every fan can enjoy every game. And Allie, who keeps her stadium running smoothly from the moment the first game starts to the last play of the season. At Grainger, you're our MVPs, and we're always here for you with supplies and solutions for every industry and 24/7 customer support. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you have kids and they are becoming young athletes, then I want to help. Matt here with Hyperswole Gym. I want to help teach them the correct ways to build muscle faster. Kids 7 and up, we got it. Private facility, we got it. Certified trainers, we got them. Whether your goal is to get faster, bigger, or stronger, we're here to help you take it to the next level. Schedule a free session at hyperswole.com. hyperswole.com.
Hiring today for tomorrow. Waste Management.
WM is now offering a $5,000 new hire bonus to CDL drivers and diesel techs for job opportunities at our sites in Jacksonville and Green Cove Springs.
In-person, on-the-spot hiring events for both sites are taking place Friday and Saturday, April 29th and 30th. Friday, 9 a.m. till 2 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. till noon.
That's Friday and Saturday, April 29th and 30th. Friday, 9 till 2 and Saturday, 9 till noon.
In Jacksonville, interviews will be at 9798 Normandy Boulevard. That's 9798 Normandy Boulevard in Jacksonville.
And in Green Cove Springs, interviews happen at 1336 Covey Court. That's 1336 Covey Court in Green Cove Springs.
Walk-ins welcome, but save time and pre-apply online at wm.com/WM Career Day. That's wm.com/WM Career Day. Search Jacksonville and Green Cove Springs, Florida.
A people-first, military-friendly, equal opportunity employer.
We are WM.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Picking here, about 2 years ago, I had Bueller Air out to install the nicest system we've ever had at our home. Why did I choose Bueller? Well, they were and still are locally owned, and their service is immaculate. I mean, they really have the coolest guys in town. Right now, they even have 0% financing available on all new systems. So remember, for AC needs, stay cooler with Bueller.
Bueller Air. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Men suffering from PE or ED, has Viagra, Cialis, or Levitra let you down? Regardless of your age or past medical history, you'll see results on your first visit at Prime Men's Medical Center, or you pay nothing, guaranteed. Call us at 664-8217.
WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach. This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. The following program was pre-recorded.